and most welcome to 1048 of the Heidegger series. And I will today talk about active and passive thinking. Those are two modes of thinking that needs to be discerned properly. Very important for the understanding of what is the why question and what is the amnesia, and what sort of mood do we need to get into to understand Heidegger, Derrida, and others. Because there is a definite difference in the mode of thinking. It's not about ideology or how the philosophy is constructed per se, conceptually, verbally, word-like. That is part of the thing, yes, but there is something more substantial, that difference lies in the difference in the mode. So I term this lecture how we need to understand what the why question is and how that is living with effort, a mental effort that is constantly going on. It is completely different mode of living and perceiving altogether, and very important to remember this. I think I mentioned it before, but it's not something you experienced before. The why question is not something familiar, it's not something known, it's not something you remember, and you can most definitely not put the parts of understanding you already have into understanding the why question. It's absolutely impossible. That is actually the what question to do that. The why question is a completely different thing that you have no experience of. So I put this into two modes of thinking. First, trying to explain the one that we all have, bar none. That is the passive mode of beings. That is a plural on that in a small b. This is the default. It is how we think now. It would be impossible to understand Heidegger if we don't make a good understanding from the sort of thinking we have presently. This is what makes classical physics, so to speak. This is the mode of the subject waiting in front of the object. And the passivity lies in not projecting anything outwards, being in this sort of staticness of subject in front of object. Space. Don't confuse this with a model. Don't confuse this ever with a gestalt, because this is something that is really down to perception. Subject in front of object in space, that's a perception, part of experience. And that's why it is so hard to sort of understand. Because all descriptions will inevitably lead back to the transcendental signified, the metaphysics of presence, or any other static mode of understanding. So Heidegger could, and it should even be understood in two completely different modes. One passive, I will explain here first, and the other one, second, is the active. And you will start out reading Heidegger in the passive mood. It is written that way. That is the purpose of the neologisms. This is the purpose of the etymological part. This is the purpose of destruction. Destruction has something of a negative spell to it, but there isn't. It is just from the the looking point as beginner that you start to learn, it would be a destroyer of something. It could almost be like the bird phoenix that raises from the ashes. I think it is not such a bad anomaly if you don't make too much of a rebirth of the whole thing, but more of focusing on the negative point of the fire or burning up, because in the case of destruction, the fire is not part of the new thing. Bird phoenix, it needs to be burned. In the case of destruction, it's a burning of something that doesn't take any part of the second mood, what happens after the destruction. It doesn't take a part there. So that is the difference. It is more like what gets burned up doesn't really get burned up. No, nothing gets burned up. It will feel that way that something gets burned up, and that was the case of the bird phoenix. And the bird phoenix needed the ashes. It needed the nutritions of the fire. But in this case, nothing got burned up. As you will see, once you get into the active mood, nothing is missed, nothing had got burned up. It is almost the opposite. It's like the passive mood was a constant burning period, and it's just a painless, sheer liberation. It doesn't need any sustenance, it doesn't need any food for it to be born. It is pain-free, effortless, rewarding, and everything that was in the passive mood will be found in the active mood. There is no, this is a very important point because this is going to help you to understand, but there is no loss at all. 0, 0, 0 loss. When going from the passive mood to the active mood, there's no loss at all. And talking about liberation is not a cover upward for you losing something. Like if you lose weight, you do actually lose something. So to some certain little extent, you will be at loss. And although I can't really think about an aspect of losing weight that could be negative to you, it's still a loss. But in this case, there is no loss at all. You don't give anything up. You just gain from all aspects. And I think this is the mistake Schopenhauer did for obvious reason. He was pre-quantum mechanics, and he thought to learn something had to be paid. A price had to be paid. Although he said it was an unnecessary thing, it was still a price to be paid. This is not the case here. And if you don't understand that, Heidegger will be knocked off. And there are many reasons for that. Motivation is just one. I think the second reason, which is even more important, that is actually not how it works, just how it is. And to understand the process, you need to understand how it is. I think the second is the better reason. Although, there could be some tendencies that you get afraid of a loss. So there's a little game there, but I would say if you think there is a loss, you won't find the right thing. And it's a little bit like if you want to find mobile, you want to help somebody with finding mobile, you need an accurate description of a red mobile with a big hole or something like that. Otherwise, you will never ever find it. So that is a very important difference. And I need to put a stop here, sorry.